Jungle.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Aaron Gomez and Keanu with Mashup Movie Talk. So, this week, big fat bruh is, I mean, it was a lot of good other news, but this one just dropped today, and we're recording from Tuesday. We'll save that for last. But, Keanu, what's up, man? I know you're hurt. It just stings. It stings. It's kind of stupid.
It's beyond stupid.
But we'll have a civil conversation. We'll try to, clarify both sides, but at the same time, some news that dropped this week is disappointing. So, before we even hit the meat of the whole episode, which I think is going to legit be the whole thing, Rian Johnson is still tied to do Star Wars, and according to Observer, he was quoting that he was gonna do a whole new trilogy that won't focus on any of the heroes or villains from the original series. So he's commenting, and this is from an interview. He says, "We're doing something that steps beyond the legacy characters. What does that look like? To me, the blue sky element of it is what was most striking about it. I know the way that I'm coming at it, and what's fun about it for everyone is George Lucas's films is figuring it out. What's the next step? It really makes you think and figure out what's the essence of Star Wars is for me and what that will look moving forward." So let's just remember that Last Jedi was commercially and critically acclaimed and did pretty well, but it's divisive between fans. And to me, I think The Last Jedi, it got better over time. When I first initially saw it, I was like, I didn't know what to think about it. It just didn't go where I wanted to go, but that's just how I feel. What are your thoughts on Last Jedi?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a fine enough film, and it's one of those things where if he is going to do a film, it is best that he steps away from legacy characters, because the legacy characters demand so much, whether it's from fan expectations or just from their legacy as a whole. So when you watch the film, it became kind of one of those things where it's like, well, this isn't my Luke, which is, kind of a cliche thing to say. But at the same time, there are expectations, and Luke definitely is kind of a pain in the ass in that film. And I feel like a lot of the criticisms do come from that. There's other criticisms, of course, but I feel like a lot of it has to do with how Luke is in that film. And Luke is just like an old pain in the ass curmudgeon. And it's maybe it's old, Jedi or like that, but that's, we followed Luke from a young age. This isn't really what we were hoping for, waiting all these years. So the film itself, I don't think it's that bad of a film. I just think it's my first time I viewed it, I didn't really mind it, but after subsequent, I don't even know if I've seen it a second time, but just I don't know. But after
it's on Netflix, buddy.
I know, yeah, I gotta watch it again. Well, I think I own it, but
there you go.
It's one of those films where it's just the more I stepped away. Some films, the more you step away from it, the more you like it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is one of those for me. This was one of the films where the more I stepped away from it, the more I was like, it was all right. Where initially I left it, I was like, oh, that was fun. And the more I removed myself from it and just kind of gave it some time to fester, I was like, it's all right.
It's funny because when I watched it in theaters, I was actually pretty bored. But it wasn't until the actual fight scenes, which was still lackluster and minimal at best. That's when I started to get excited, but I was like, I can't let that one part actually dictate the whole film. But it's weird because, okay, we thought that, Rian Johnson's out, blah, blah, blah. But if we're taking everything in consideration, Rian Johnson's supposed to have a trilogy, and then the writers, the producers of Game of Thrones are supposed to have their own trilogy. And so it's where does
you get a trilogy.
Yeah, it's where does this fit in the schedule? Because Fox Disney released their schedule for the next couple of years, and we're like, okay, so we're assuming there wasn't that many Star Wars properties if you don't include Disney Plus. So it's where does this gonna fall? Another decade from now? It's kind of just weird to hear it, because I honestly thought this was dead in the water. But the fact that he had a full out quote that hey, we're gonna do this and that, it's whatever. I mean, Rian Johnson did Godzilla, right? The modern day. He did the 2013, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah, and I mean, besides that, it's kind of weird in my opinion, because it's just where does this fit in the schedule? Like, are they really planning ahead beyond another trilogy to set up a new one? So
I know,
it's like,
that's a lot of trilogies.
that's like a whole decade, and it's like, or like,
We're getting a
6
little
years.
tired.
Yeah, I mean, like if you so logically you have a sequel maybe every 2 years if it's like good. You know what I mean? So you have enough time to film, edit, blah blah blah, but 2 years is like where it's still fresh in people's minds. Just like I guess it's cool to see Rian Johnson tied, but I don't know how it's going to go with the fan base. But like besides Rian Johnson, Obi-Wan is like, according to Deadline, is now confirmed with Ewan McGregor, who signed on. So this is going to be on Disney Plus. Pretty much like I'm pretty sure they're going to announce this at D23, and this has been wanted for so long by fans. Like, I think Ewan McGregor was the best part of the prequels, even though I mean I like the prequels because I grew up with it. It wasn't like I just ate it up as a kid. Like, it was like candy to me. I was like, okay, this is awesome, like the fight scenes. But like, if now that I watch it and like the actual story, I'm like, okay, I think the OG Star Wars trilogy is the best. But I'm excited for this, and the fact that it's Disney Plus, like, the quality is gonna be good. I'm just curious if like when this timeline is gonna take. Like, is he gonna be like Ben Kenobi, like, or is this gonna be a cut like 3 years after the third movie where it's like he picks up and he's just gonna have to protect Anakin and Tatooine at such like a still fresh young age. But like, Keanu, what are your thoughts on this whole Obi-Wan becoming official as a TV series or streaming series instead of a movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have preferred a movie just because even though Disney Plus is towing that line between film and television, I still feel like films are just like the most grandiose way to do something. And I'm a huge fan of premium network television. I don't know. And first thought, I kind of wish it was a film. But that being said, I'm beyond excited for it. I'm really, like you said, McGregor is one of the best parts, one of, if not the best parts of the prequel trilogy. And everyone, I mean, it's kind of like a unanimous thing that they want more of him. And so I think it'll be a really interesting setup, a really interesting, scenario. I know initially they said in like the prequel trilogy, I mean, in the original trilogy, he kind of says like, oh, I just like stood on Tatooine doing nothing for 20 years. But they could, I mean, they've retconned so much in the series that they could just, it wouldn't even be a retcon. It could just be like he was lying. Either that, or they could just like you said, it could be like a year or two after the Revenge of the Sith, and it's like before he goes into that hibernation mode, he's like out there. He has one last thing to do. What would have been cool was, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but like, spoiler alert, Darth Maul's alive. Spoiler alert, Darth Maul is dead.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where like the side material, supplemental materials, the Clone Wars set up him being alive, and then there was this whole idea of having a payoff of Obi-Wan finally confronting, or rather Darth Maul finally confronting Obi-Wan, and that played out in Star Wars Rebels in one of the episodes. And so I don't know if they're, I mean, I thought that would have been a perfect material to show on the show, either in the film or this Disney Plus series. And so I wonder if they'll maybe just redo it. Like it'll both will be canon, but they'll just show it in live action, because I just feel like it has such potential to be shown in this, to play out in this Disney Plus series.
Yeah, I completely agree. And plus, like, Solo, he was also, Darth Maul, spoiler, he was in Solo.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
So it's like, and that's the thing, like, we, as the current generation of Star Wars, like the current trilogy, we've never connected the new we never had like that connection between the prequels and like the OG trilogy and like to the new ones. Like, we haven't, like, there has been rumors that Hayden Christensen was going to be back as a Force Ghost for like one of the Star Wars movies. So it's like a lot of rumors that like I would love it, and like there hasn't been any real connection, like an actor from the prequels showing up in the current trilogy. But like, in the Force Awakens, Obi-Wan was actually in it. He was actually a voiceover in one scene, but like we needed like a physical visualization, like a property that would connect it. But that's the thing, like I don't know like who's gonna be Obi-Wan's enemy. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be Maul. It's like, do we even bring Darth Vader involved? Because like, how did Obi-Wan know that Anakin was more machine than man? Because he hasn't seen him since the fight. So it's like, that's like up in the air.
Just listen to radio.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just
Star Wars radio, man.
That's all you got to do. Star Wars radio. There you go.
I mean, you figure. I know. Well, I mean, you figure. I know A New Hope kind of sets it up as Obi-Wan being like super, or Ben Kenobi being super like distant from the Resistance, but he obviously still has some ties because Leia is like, oh, we need his help. So maybe it could be one of those things where like, even though he's far removed, he's still like keeping tabs on what's going on. He maybe has like one or two contacts in the resistance, and that's where he's getting that information from.
Yeah, and like I mean, I love, like you said, like theatrical release would be grandiose, and it's a full on experience. I completely agree with that, but I just like I'm looking at the positives for a Disney Plus series because we just talked about how much the quality is going to be just from a regular TV show, and they're going to manage to flesh out the character and give so much plot. So I mean, we've seen glimpses of The Mandalorian on YouTube. I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, it's leaked already. It's already up there, and I mean the quality's on par. But the fact that we're going to be in this universe with Obi-Wan and Ewan McGregor for more than 2 hours is just, I think that's going to be very exciting. And I would just love him to, like, what I want for this film is from him to be Obi-Wan and transition to Ben. Like you just said, like he's distanced. I want him to lose hope kind of at the end of the series and be like, and then he finds his new hope when the new hope starts. So like, that'd be great. Like, I would like him to look like Alan McGuinness.
Which they started in Revenge of the Sith. And now, with our de-aging technology, we can do the opposite and, like, re-age. And we can, I mean, the show can start with, Ewan looking like himself. Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, it's, like, literally, like they did with Looper with the prosthetics, like between CGI and prosthetics, by the end of it, he could straight up just look like,
Yeah, he could look like Alan. And plus, like... even Captain America and Endgame, like
exactly,
like I mean, this is a spoiler, but you guys should have seen Endgame if you're listening to this podcast. But like the prosthetics and the CGI combined, like we're at that age to do in technology now where we can do this. So we're gonna move on. Other streaming services, Netflix, which I think this is great for them. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is coming back as a Netflix limited series. Kevin Smith is on board as an executive producer and showrunner. So the actual title, which is a sequel to the original 80s anime classic, is Masters of the Universe Revelation. It's so like the cool thing, it's being produced by Mattel Television and animated by Powerhouse Animation, the studio behind Netflix's Castlevania, which I highly recommend. And this gives me the biggest confidence in its property. So just having such a good setup, especially with mentioning Castlevania, which is, guys, watch that season 1 and 2. You can binge it right now. Every episode is like a half hour. Kevin Smith tied. Just a full-out nerd who loves this property. I'm like so in, and he had a quote saying, "I'm eternally grateful to Mattel TV and Netflix for entrusting me with not only the secrets of Grayskull, but also their entire universe," says the Jay and Silent Bob reboot director in a statement. "In Revelation, we pick up right where the classic era left off to tell an epic tale of what may be the final battle between He-Man and Skeletor, brought to life with the most metal character designs Powerhouse Animation can contain in the frame. This is the Masters of the Universe story you always wanted to see as a kid." So honestly, I never grew up with Masters of the Universe, but I did watch the 2002 He-Man series, and that was pretty badass.
Dude, that was so badass, and it's such a shame that it didn't get like closure or like just any like significant fan audience to keep it going, because it was so good.
Was it Toonami or Cartoon Network?
It was Toonami, I think.
Yep, I feel like it was Toonami.
I'm pretty sure it's Toonami.
That was my introduction to He-Man. And it's funny because they were talking about doing a Masters of the Universe movie. And, for the longest time. And like, a lot of big companies were just dropping on the board and couldn't get an agreement on how they wanted to do it. Because honestly, this is He-Man to me. He-Man is Star Wars mixed with Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like epic with that science fiction, kind of like that John Carter feel. But I'm okay with Kevin Smith handling it. Actually, more than okay. But like the fact that, the people behind Castlevania's on. Keanu, I mean, like what are your ties with He-Man? Because honestly, I feel like this was not our generation, except that 2002 show. But how do you feel about the show coming back, especially through Netflix?
It's a little bit similar to you in the sense that I was a huge fan of the 2002 series. But in addition to that, I'm a huge fan of 80s cinema, film, cartoons, just everything. I mean, I know there's been a lot of revitalization in 80s interest recently, but like before that happened, not to be like a hipster, but I was super into it because of my parents, and so because of that, I actually watched some He-Man, the original series, with my father. My father was a huge fan. He was a huge fan of that and Thundercats, and so I'm a fan. I was a fan from the get-go, and then and like you said, they also I was am on my own right. I watched the 2000 series, and I just remember being like enamored, and I just thought it was so cool. And so those two facts combined, I'm ecstatic for the show. I'm ecstatic by the fact that it's produced, it's animated by Powerhouse Animation. If anything, the show's gonna look gorgeous. I mean, I already have faith that's gonna be more than that, but if anything, it's gonna look gorgeous. And then on top of that, Kevin Smith, he's I think he's a really fun guy. I know he has a lot of revered comic book runs, like in Daredevil, and I think he has a couple of cool Batman stories as well. So I'm super excited. I'm like I said, I'm a huge fan even from the original, even though I didn't watch it when it originally aired. I'm really pumped for this.
I mean, it's honestly pushing me to watch it because especially that it's a continuation. Even though it's a continuation, I feel like they're still gonna make it fresh for newcomers to come in.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like curious of what the tone is for this, because like, are they gonna go the 2002 route where it was kind of serious, or are we gonna go retro 80s like the original? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's definitely gonna be more in line with the 2000. I think.
That'd be cool,
I just don't think there's too much of an audience per se because just from the artwork, I think the fact that it's done by Powerhouse Animation kind of shows that it's going to be more in line with the 2000 version, because you have already the She-Ra cartoon that's a little bit closer, at least in lightheartedness, to the original series. That's also on Netflix, and this is clearly, it looks very different from that. And anytime you put Kevin Smith on something, chances are it's not going to be like super family friendly. And so I feel pretty confident saying that's going to be more in line with the 2000 version.
It's so funny because you brought up the era of nostalgia, which is very true. It's like late 80s, early 90s. Like I just watched Invader Zim and Rocko's Modern Life, this past weekend.
So fun.
And it's just, I think it's a great move for Netflix to do this because, they're really trying to, they're really doing a Hail Mary when it cut before, like, pre Disney Plus. So like properties like this, and especially like, even we're talking about nostalgia, like Castlevania, like that was a good 90s classic. Like I don't know if Konami's ever going to make a game again, but they really should. It's just like, it's great with the quality, and like hearing Bloody Tears play in the in the Castlevania show. It's just like, it showed like these creators were passionate about it, and it's like, Kevin Smith tied to it. I'm like really excited for it because Kevin Smith is like the essential nerd in like pop culture, and like it's just, I'm excited because I really do. I just rewatched all the Masters of the Universe openings like last night, and dude, the 2002 one was badass. Like it's just
dude,
it's so badass.
By the power of Grayskull, I have the power.
So badass. But like I personally, I gotta check if Netflix has the original Masters of the Universe, because I think this would be good opportunity for them to do it. Just to transition fans that never really grew up with the 80s show. Because I don't know how the 80s show ended. And from his quotes, it looked like they left it hanging with no real conclusion. So that's like interesting to think about. And I was hearing this news everywhere. So it's like, I think like with Kevin Smith, it's the good publicity this property needs, even though I don't think the fandom's like, in my opinion, I don't think the fandom's that huge with today's audience.
Right.
Especially like what? They made a He-Man movie with Dolph Lundgren. Was he in that?
Yeah.
It looked like Dolph Lundgren.
It was him, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it looked like him, but like it was like completely different. It was like on Earth or something. It was like completely different. So like if we're talking about nostalgia, this is kind of like a, early 2000s nostalgia, and it's coming up on its 20th anniversary by Warner Bros. So we're actually getting a Matrix 4, and this is coming from Lana Wachowski, who co-wrote and co-directed the original trilogy with her sister Lily returning to the director's chair. So this is not like a prequel or anything. It's actually going to have Keanu Reeves, aka Neo, and Carrie-Anne Moss, who played Trinity, to reprise their roles. So here are some of the quotes from this report. They said, "We could not be more excited to be re-entering the Matrix with Lana," said WB chairman Toby Emmerich in a statement. Lana is a true visionary, a singular and original creative filmmaker, and we are thrilled that she is writing, directing, and producing this new chapter in the Matrix universe. It continues, "Many of the ideas Lily and I explored 20 years ago about our reality are even more relevant now," added Wachowski. I'm very happy to have these characters back in my life and grateful for another chance to work with my brilliant friends. So if you guys are wondering about, hey, what's Morpheus play into this, aka Lawrence Fishburne, who played him. So according to Variety, they shared an update which claims that the script calls for a younger version of the character to be cast, which obviously points to some time travel elements in the plot. So, like, before even this was announced, there was a rumor that they were trying to do a Matrix prequel with Michael B. Jordan. I'm excited for it, but I'm like, did we need this at the same time? Because I feel like the trilogy was so set in stone, but, like, the fact that time travel is involved, I'm like, is that even Matrix-y? Like, it's kind of... I would have to see a trailer to, like, you know, put my, like, thoughts on it. Keanu, you excited for Matrix 4?
I'm excited for it for my father. My father's a huge fan of the original.
Yeah.
Everyone I know says, I mean, okay, rather, actually, I can't remember his opinion of the second and third, but I know online everyone says like the second and third aren't as good as the first one. I watched all of them, can't remember. I was so young, but I'm excited for my father. That being said, I feel like the what was the Wachowski brothers and now the Wachowski sisters, I feel like their content Wachowski, yeah. I feel like their content hasn't been as strong since the original Matrix, so
yeah, it's true.
I'm not sure where, you know, how excited I should get, but I think it's an interesting property, and I think a lot could be done, and the fact that it has Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves attached to it is a good sign. I hope, even if it's a younger Morpheus, I hope they do have Lawrence Fishburne in some capacity, whether it's a flashback or just something, or voiceover. But I'm interested. I'm cautiously interested. I don't know that I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic, more so cautiously interested in where it goes, just because, you know, like I said, the second and third one are kind of, you know, they've gone down as being not as good as the first, and the sisters' content in recent years hasn't been as strong. So yeah, it's
just, I'm kind of curious if, you know, these Michael B. Jordan rumors will come into fruition and will end up happening. I just think that the Matrix trilogy is just such a tight knit story, and it's done. But like, let's remember that like Keanu Reeves, this is like a renaissance for him, and he's like the hottest thing in Hollywood, even beyond movies, including video games and, you know, animation like Toy Story 4. I'm kind of like the same way as you. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic because I like, how does that? Okay, so Matrix was in the 2000s, and, you know, their outfits is like leather and everything, and this is the time of like X-Men 1 coming out, like leather and dark things was like the, you know, the new theme. But like, are they gonna rock that theme in this movie? Like, how is that gonna translate into this current iteration of it? And it's just weird because if you guys watch Matrix Revelations, or it's Revelations or Revolution, I forget the third one is. It's just like
Revelations, I believe.
Revelations, yeah. It's just like, it's like, how do you continue the story? I just don't want to spoil anything, but just like, how do you start it? But like, is this gonna be?
You know, it's one of those things. Not to cut you off, but I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if worst comes to worst, they're just like, hey, Matrix is like rebooted, or like, I don't know, like just like the computers restarted. I don't know. Just, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like they can create a backdoor just from the fact that it's like so computer related that it's like there's a backup of the server. I don't know. Just, you know, I just feel like there's it's data involved, and you can copy data so easily in the real world. Maybe it has something to do with that.
Yeah, it's just, I'm curious because like, is this gonna be is this gonna be the continuation of Neo's story, or is this gonna be a handoff to a new generation? Because we don't know who's gonna be the real star. You know what I mean? They never confirmed like they're the real star. Like, I just don't know where it's gonna go. You know what I mean? Like, is this gonna be like a new character who's gonna lead and be like, oh, this is a continuation, so we can milk this franchise? That's what I'm worried about.
And I feel like that might be the case, because I was just from reading. I mean, not that I necessarily agree with them, but just from like reading online, one guy was like, they're kind of up there in age, so like, are we expecting them to pull off these stunts? Because if you're not, then obviously they're going to cast somebody younger to carry on the stunts, because that's what Matrix is known for. I feel like Keanu could do it, and I haven't seen. I know Carrie-Anne Moss was in Jessica Jones. I don't know if she's still karate chopping at everything, but I think that Keanu can still do it. So I mean, it's kind of a coin flip on where they go with that.
Yeah, that's my only worry. It's like, I hope this is like, you know, we're being respectful to the original trilogy and not using this as a baton handoff for another generation of, you know, new characters and stuff. Because like, I just want it to be a tight knit story and be done with.
Yeah.
But like we won't know because this was actually just dropped today, so it's kind of
Just that fresh news for you.
It's very fresh, and it's just like it's new for us. So it's like, in my idea, I'm just like, okay, we don't need it, but I'll gladly watch it because Matrix 1 was a phenomenon. Like my brother grew up with Matrix, like he was a teenager, and he would tell me at midnight releases there was lines out the door for this movie. So this movie wasn't just like, you know, not a typical sci-fi movie. This was like a revolutionary movie for the genre, in my opinion. But we'll see how it turns out. So we're going to go into some Marvel news and Loki. So Tom Hiddleston had an MTV interview. This is kind of a brief announcement. And he pretty much confirmed that the Loki series on Disney Plus will consist of 6-hour-long episodes. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to like mention that because, you know, it's comic book related. And I think that's great because, you know, Netflix had a struggle of having like 13 episode seasons with Defenders and all those other characters. And I think 6 is like more than the perfect amount of episodes. But Keanu, you agree like 6 episodes is a great number? Because I think it's great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's one of those things where it's like I said earlier, Disney Plus is towing the line between film and television. And in order to maintain film quality, most of the time, you got to keep it. You're expanding on a film, but you can only expand by so much unless you have pre-established like books and stuff. And there are obviously Loki stories from the comics, but it feels like it's very much its own thing. And so because of that, I do agree that 6 hours seems like a good run. You want to leave them wanting more, you know, more than anything. You want to leave them wanting more rather than like be on episode 8 and you're like, oh, here we go. The middle. I'm forgetting the word I'm looking for, but basically like, you know, the middle of the run, slow down. You know, it's bogged down. Third act, second act, bogged down.
You know, I'm wondering, like, do you think like with Disney Plus, even though they announced their Phase 4, like say WandaVision, Cap and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier, do you think like these properties are like one and done, or they're gonna have seasons? That's what I'm wondering.
I think they're all going into it as one and done with like the potential to expand. Like I feel like they definitely are like planning. I think they're definitely like eyes. Well, I don't know because Kevin Feige plans so far in advance. It's kind of hard, but at the same time, it's like he says all his stuff is planned 5 years in advance. But like, were they playing Disney Plus 5 years ago? I highly doubt it. So it's like
Secret Wars.
Right. Exactly. So I kind of think I want to say, ignoring Kevin Feige planning so far in advance, I kind of want to say they're playing it as a one and done, with obviously there always being the potential for more. But like Loki, like this Loki thing I see as being like a one and done because I just feel it. Well, I don't know because they're continuing Thor. I don't mean to flip flop. It's just kind of hard because Marvel.
It's hard, right? I don't think we never asked this question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is this gonna because like it's tied to Phase 4? Like, are these just like mini movies?
That's what I want to say. It's a mini movie, and so there's no. They don't. And so I want to say they don't think of it as seasons. They think of it as this is a movie. This is a. I'm sorry, not a mini movie. Actually, a maxi movie.
Yeah,
but I'm for my own interest. I'm going to say that it's planned as a one-off. But obviously, there's a potential for more. If it's like, I don't know how they would gauge. I guess they can see viewer numbers. So if like the show has like a gajillion viewers, you know, of course they might be like, hey, let's do a sequel film, which isn't really a film, but a sequel series. But kind of like anime, where like anime usually, you know, most animes kind of just run for a season, like, and that's like, and it's not a season, it's a series, and then they might do a sequel series. I think it's something like that. I think it'll probably be something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like this is gonna be like a movie, and like whatever we do with like Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're going to show up in the Avengers. You know what I mean? Because I feel like the next phases, I feel like the next phases are going to be, you know, they're going to expand on other characters. Like I feel like a Moon Knight's going to come out in, which I hope it does get movie treatment, but what if it comes out in Disney Plus? You know what I mean?
It wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be Disney. I think it'd be Hulu if anything. I just feel like Moon Knight's probably mature.
Yeah, I forgot Hulu. Yeah, tied to that. By the time we talk about, you know, Moon Knight comes out, or if it does, you know, Disney Plus and Hulu are tied. So I'm just like wondering that this Disney Plus thing is going to be expanding for other characters and other phases, but we'll never know until it happens. And this is going to be the next big bit. So before we get into this Spider-Man Sony stuff, let's just get this out of the way. Sony Pictures is clearly happy that Spider-Man Far From Home has passed Skyfall to become their highest grossing release. So, no, this is already confirmed by THR that they're doing a re-release from Thursday, August 29, and run it through Labor Day weekend. And it's gonna have. This is pretty much a director's cut. And it's gonna have extra
Prepare
scenes.
yourself. Prepare for this.
But yeah, that's why I'm trying to warm up the crowd before we put this news out.
But yeah, no, prepare for the awesomeness of this extended cut. How much they're giving us?
They're giving us 4-minute action
Woo!
scenes.
Oh man, say it again. Say it again.
That's 4 minutes.
Oh, here we go.
Of an action scene. But yeah, it's just like that's what we needed in Avengers Endgame because they were getting shitted on for their lackluster attempt for a release. You know what I mean? That's great, but funny thing is, Spider-Man's gone? Question mark.
Spider-Man run away from home.
So that's so funny. So okay, I have 3 articles left on different tabs. So let's.
You got the one I sent you, right?
I got one from comicbook.com and like another one from comicbookmovie.com. So, I'm just gonna read this off just to get the audience going. So Spider-Man, for now Sony's taking him back and he won't be part of the MCU. Damn. So this is the article. Deadline has confirmed that Marvel Studios will no longer have any sort of creative involvement with future Spider-Man movies. This week, Spider-Man Far From Home became the highest-grossing Sony picture movie of all time, but this dispute has been going on behind the scenes for months now, and it all boils down to Sony and Disney failing to reach an agreement over co-financing. There are still 2 more Spider-Mans in the works with director John Watts and star Tom Holland attached, but without something drastic happening, Marvel Studios President Feige will have absolutely no involvement with them. Disney wanted future Spider-Man movies to have 50-50 co-financing arrangement to which they would have seen them pay half of the movies but receive half of the profits returned. This could have extended to other films in the Sony Spider-Man universe. So remember that line. Had they agreed bringing Venom into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for example, but it was a flat-out no from Sony Pictures. They weren't willing to compromise, and Sony simply did not want to share the biggest earner. They did, however, offer to keep the current arrangement going, which sees Disney receive 5% of the first dollar gross. Disney said no. Sources tell trade that Sony feels that they will be fine without Feige and that they have an idea to where they can take the next Spider-Man. It just won't be in the MCU. Boo. Needless to say, this will devastate fans and the fallout is beyond to be felt in a huge way. So this is another update. This is according to Variety. One source said that the deal might still be reached between Disney and Sony. Unfortunately, that's pretty vague, so it may not be the best bet right now. Update 2. Or not, according to The Hollywood Reporter, they've confirmed that Sony is set to part ways with Marvel Studios. They add that neither party was willing to cede enough ground to come to an agreement, leading to the breakup of the partnership and removal of Feige from his producing role. And it's funny how all this is, this news is breaking down. It's as soon as this news drops, Sony stock prices have dipped by upwards of minus 0.060, where it dropped its price to $55.66 for their share. So like this shows this news really hits a lot of people. Keanu, I know you were bummed out, and I'm bummed out. I think the fans are bummed out, but I would love to hear your thoughts on Spider-Man going away from home.
Okay, so first and foremost, at first I wasn't sure who I was more angry at, and now I think I'm pretty sure I'm more angry at Disney.
Yes. Yes.
So Sony bought the rights for Spider-Man fair and square in the 90s, and it's pretty the contract's pretty cut and dry. They get the rights like indefinitely, as long as they keep making movies, I believe, and so. Disney came in later after Marvel had already, was dealing with all these properties all over the place, and Disney's tried to, clean up shop and bring everything under one house. But, it's hard because Sony owns Spider-Man, fair and square, cut and dry. And so let's not forget the only reason that this whole because it's an amazing deal, not to quote Spider-Man titles, but it's an amazing deal in the sense that this is, two completely separate studios working together in the interest of a property. And so, this happened when the deal was made when Sony was hacked because of the interview. They financed James Franco and Seth Rogen's film The Interview, which that went off Korea, and they said they were going to release it, and whoever got mad at them, and it became a whole thing. And one of the results of that was some group attacking Sony and releasing all their internal memos and all their internal emails. And it was revealed that Sony was not happy with their performance of the recent Amazing Spider-Man 2 films. They weren't happy with Andrew Garfield's performance, and they were looking for a way to revitalize their biggest breadwinner. And so the rumor is that, I can't remember if it was precise, but the rumor is Kevin Feige and Disney kind of reached out to them and they said, hey, listen, we want to use Spider-Man in our film. How about we make a deal? And the deal they ended up making was basically Disney slash Marvel Cinematic Universe makes zero money off of the standalone Spider-Man films. The films that are titled Spider-Man and deal with only Spider-Man, minus the MCU references. Those are still Sony owned films, and Sony made all the money. But Kevin Feige and Marvel Cinematic Universe and Disney were able to use the character in their own films, in their own Avengers team ups, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Civil War, which they couldn't do before because they just didn't own the film rights. And so Disney was kind of, Sony, and it's tough because at the same time it's like Sony. This is now, the movie that Kevin Feige made, or he didn't make it, but that he was a huge influence in, is now their biggest, the highest grossing release ever. So it's like, oh, okay, well, Sony, you obviously are doing well with Marvel, but at the same time, Disney, you make a gajillion dollars. You own every property under the sun. Exactly. Why did you feel the need to try to get 50% of the film profit from this? You made $8 billion, whatever, $7 billion, but it'll be $9 billion by the end of the year. Every film you make at this point is almost guaranteed to be $1 billion. So why do you feel the need to be so full of yourself and so money hungry that you're like, oh, here's one more movie, we got to get another bill? You're already making $8 billion. What? Stop it, And like, one of the biggest things, and mind you, MCU Phase 4, it's going to be a lot of unknown properties. Spider-Man is a guaranteed seller. Adding him to any one of whatever you do with your team up films is good. It's guaranteed to bring in money. Why did you feel the need to go 50? Why did you feel that need? And then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, Sony, let's not forget you suck at making films. You suck at your franchises. And I'll tell you, we can blame Venom for this. We can blame him because Venom made 600, 700 million globally, and so Sony said, okay, wow. Spider-Man made a billion, but 50% of $1 billion is 500 million, whereas Venom made 700 million, and we get the whole pot. So even if we're doing even if we're doing BS, we just throw Venom and Spider-Man in a movie together. We're making more than if we were half, split 50-50 with Disney. And mind you, the 50-50 deal is both revenue and cost, but 50, I'm saying the budget is what, 180 million at the most, and the original Homecoming was, I think, less than that. They could just parse, if Sony really wanted to, they could parse down the budget back to Homecoming levels and still get at least Venom type money, and they still would work out better. So it's frustrating, and I wish they would have. I wish, if Disney said 50-50, I wish Sony would have said like 75-25, and then it would have been like, all right, well, we're getting money. Because don't forget, Disney owns the merchandising rights to Spider-Man. So even when they're not making monies off the films, they're making a buku bucks over all the little toys and action figures from all the different costumes that they're throwing in the film that kids are buying, and all the action figure, everything. It's so frustrating, and I just wish Disney wasn't greedy, and I wish Sony was a little bit more like understanding of the fact that they suck at making films, and they do need Marvel to a degree.
You know what this is? This is like two brothers fighting, and like we can be the parent, but we have no power in reality. Do you know what I mean? So like, to break it down, Spark Notes version, Sony financed the movie and they made the profits, and Marvel had 5%, of the box office revenues, and now they want 50-50, like you just said, just to reiterate. But like, apparently they said beyond just Spider-Man, they say they get half of the box office receipts. Not just that, but the Disney offer is reported to have included all of the Spider-Man live action movies, such as Venom and Morbius. It's just like, it's tough, because like, even though we're talking about money here, can we like talk about legacy? Because like, if Spider-Man's with Marvel Studios, like and it's under Feige, this is going to go down in history, and we're going to remember and be like, wow, remember that Spider-Man, those 8 Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, like those were great. But it's like now if Sony has it by themselves, they're going to be such lackluster films where just like, oh, we're going to remember it as, oh, this is the stupid Sony version of, that's not even tied to the MCU. And I was glad that you kind of had a change of heart, because at first when we read this, you sent me
It was definitely a click. It was definitely like a clickbait headline, and then I was
Yeah,
at work, so I didn't get a chance to
absolutely.
read it. And then once I read it, I was like, oh well, this is bullshit.
Yeah, because when you sent this to me, I was at the gym and I was like, no way. Like, really? Because remember we were talking, like, episodes ago when they're like, if Spider-Man makes $1 billion, Sony was going to leave it with Marvel. And they were like, and it happened to make $1 billion, and it passed it. And it's like, it's such a downgrade. Like, even though Venom's making money and it's close to $1 billion, it still, like, was shit. It was shit. Like, it was just, as a film, it was a mess. I really think that, like, Sony, when they make their films, they think we're idiots and we just eat up anything. It just sucks that, because, like, I feel like they just don't put the hard work in with their properties. And so what's the only thing I think that's good with Sony is, like, electronics and Sony animations. That's it.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you make good Hotel Transylvania movies, but that's animation. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really put out really good content, because, like,
What, Men
Spider-
in Black, whatever,
What?
the one that just came out.
Yeah, and, like, it passed James Bond. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's its highest grossing film, and, like, we'll talk about James Bond later, but it's like, it's sad because of course it's money, and like the 50-50 deal, like you said, I would love the 75-25, because we talked about this previous episodes. Disney's made like $7 billion, and it's only been half the year, and they're gonna have gangbusters when it comes to the fall, and including Star Wars. So it's like, if you already made Star Wars Land, you're gonna have these other properties. Like, why can't you just, like, not think about money for a little bit? Because you're already set. Like, Bob Iger's set for life. Like, maybe like multiple lives. Like, he's gonna be set. Can we just like do it for the fans and like talk about legacy? Like, this is like, if we keep it with the MCU, we're gonna remember this for the rest of our life, and it's gonna be so great. And it's just, it sucks that it's getting ruined, because like
I just need one more contract, man. I just need one more
Just one
contract.
more
with,
contract,
like,
yeah.
3-4 more film appearances, and I'd be set. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's see him grow up a little bit more in the MCU. And then, I knew this was never going to last forever, and like even the MCU isn't going to last forever. It's just like, I just needed one more extension, man. I needed one more extension, so they could, especially now, like how Far From Home ends. It's like, how the hell?
Yes.
Okay, so now what do we do? Now what if they don't reboot and they do continue? Because the rumor is that, like you said, that there's 2 more films with Tom Holland and John Watts, and it's like, okay, so what do you do? Because like Iron Man is his mentor. Iron Man is his Uncle Ben. Is the next film just going to be like he forgot who he? Like, I don't know. It's definitely going to be like a weird predicament.
Because, like, okay, so what happened to the plan to Harry Potter the shit out of this? Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because as much as I love Tom Holland's interpretation, he's not Spider-Man to me. He's still Spider-Boy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's still a teenager. He doesn't, like, we're not at the time of the Spider-Man animated series where he's, like, out of college or in college, working for the Daily Bugle. And plus, like, with the end credit scenes, like, and, like, the official ending of Far From Home, this is such a missed opportunity. And it's like, why change something that's not broken? And it just pisses me off, like, reading into it. Even though I love Marvel Studios, but like, you're sitting in a bed of money. Like, relax. Like, let's let them make the film. You're still making money, like you said, through the products, and you're still making money for him cameoing. Like, if this is like Avengers, you're Spider-Man's a brain. Like, he brings people in for the Avengers. He's one of the biggest superheroes in the world. You got Batman, Superman, Spider-Man's like the top dog. Before MCU, he was the top dog. And we have so much left for growth. Like, I don't even think, like I said, like the 2 more movies with John Watts, I don't even think 2 movies is enough. I still want him to have, like, give me a whole decade of Spider-Man. Just let him grow, because he's still a Spider Kid. I don't think he's Spider-Man yet, even though he's doing a great job. This dropped today, folks. So this is Tuesday, and this is gonna drop tomorrow. This is like, the articles I read, we're constantly getting updates, either Variety or THR. And this dropped like, what, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock? And
Yeah. It was literally like hours ago.
so like, we're honestly going to find out more, and maybe this isn't set in stone. Like,
If everyone riots, who
everyone's
knows, maybe.
rioting. But the fact that like the stocks are already dropping, Like,
it needs to keep dropping though. Like it needs to be like people need to riot. Not
Yeah.
really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like they need to
yeah.
online, they need an internet riot, and stocks need to drop,
Mhm.
and just it needs to be Sony. I mean, at the end of the day, Disney. If anybody's probably not gonna move, not gonna make a difference, not
Disney.
make a, it's Disney. Because they make buku bucks, they make $1 gajillion. Also, side note, no, not side note, but just a thought. Technically speaking, I'm like 90% sure Disney owns a television rights for Spider-Man. So if they really were feeling themselves, they could just continue the series on Disney Plus.
Ugh, don't do that.
I'm just saying though, like
I know
these shows are already movie like quality. They're already setting them up to be as integral as the films. If they really wanted to, if it got to a point where like Sony was like, nope, you can't do anything, Marvel could really be like, well, you know what? Here we go. You want to see the continued adventures of Spider-Man? Check out Disney Plus. Then it's like, oh my gosh,
that's a loophole. Because remember you sent me an article this week saying Disney Plus is going to have another big Marvel name, and I mean I don't think it's Spider-Man. I honestly think it's Hulk. Getting his own show, because that would be the loophole to Universal. Because ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know, put you in context. Hulk has like a weird rights to to actual Disney and aka Marvel, so they can't make a Hulk movie, but they can use him in other properties. That's why Thor Ragnarok happened. So if there's a rumor that Disney Plus is gonna have a new big name for a show, I honestly think it's Hulk, because like why not build off of what we created, and it would be a loophole. So I mean, if this happened to Spider-Man, I would be up for it in a way, because like you get to flesh out the characters, but I would want them to commit to like real movie top tier quality for this property, and that would be so big for Disney Plus, like a 6-hour film. That'd be a huge draw. It's just, I don't know how to process this, because it's like if Sony stocks go down, or when it goes down, I feel bad for Sony, because Marvel's just trying to get their greedy fingers and have this 50-50 deal, which is a bunch of bullshit, But at the same time, like, we want to have Spider-Man in the MCU. So that's why I kind of feel bad for Sony right now. Like, after like I'm marinating on it for like an hour or two, like I kind of feel bad, because they're going to have their hand forced, where Disney's going to be like, listen, we're the Illuminati. We can do whatever we want. Your stocks are going to go down. You have to take our deal. Because you're right. Disney's not going to budge. Disney's not going to budge at all. They want this 50-50 deal, and that's it. So, but the validity of them, I'm not sure when I said this earlier, but the validity of Disney actually having the profits off the other live-action Spider-Man movies, like Venom and Morbius. So it's kind of like we're going to learn as we go this week how it goes, but I'm upset. But it's like, at first I was pointing the finger at Sony, and now I'm kind of pointing the finger at Disney, and I'm like, it's kind of like they're trying to, they know they're comfy, but it's kind of like it's a game of chicken, and Disney ain't going to budge. So it sucks. And Spider-Man's supposed to be the lead-in. We're hyping him up as the new Iron Man, you know what I mean? He's supposed to be a lead-in for the MCU. So like who's going to be our Trinity? I mean, we could do Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther. Okay.
But like, it's Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man. So like that like changes the MCU's future. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like we're still trying to build these characters. Like I told you before, I don't think Doctor Strange and like Captain Marvel and Black Panther are on that level. Not even close.
I don't think so either.
Not even close to the original trio of Thor, Cap, and Iron Man. They're not close. And like, if they want to have some bearings, you better keep Spider-Man in there. It's just.
But at the same time, like Captain Marvel, I mean, it's because of Infinity War, but like Black Panther, Captain Marvel, their origin films made $1 billion. So it's like, but does it? I mean, like for us, it matters. But like
it matters. It matters because we're the the OG. Like, this is what we this is what we grew up with. Like Black Panther was like a C-list character, and Captain Marvel, she wasn't really even big either. And her comic book sales weren't even great. So like, it was hard for them to write a story about Captain Marvel. So I just like, maybe for the new generation, yeah. I mean, of course they're making $1 billion. I know that. Like, maybe for a new generation, this is for them. But it's just sad because like, if we're gonna do homage to the original, pay respects to the real characters that made Marvel and what it is, Like, we need to have Spider-Man there, and we need him. He is the most relatable character for all of us. So in the comics, Spider-Man's popular because, one, he relates to us. He's like a kid or a teenager growing up, and he has superpowers, and he has to balance his daily life. It's like, ugh, dude, this like really pisses me off because I'm like coming from the gym and I'm really tired, and I'm just like, I don't really like want to talk about this because it's really shitty. And it's like, hopefully we get an update tomorrow and like, okay, they want to do the 75-25 split because everything that's coming out is coming from, very reliable sources, but it's like,
it's all kind of coming from Deadline for the most part.
Yeah, Deadline, Variety, and like, THR. It's just, I want Feige to say something. I need to like hear it from the men in suits of Marvel and Disney, just to see where it goes. Keanu, final thoughts before we hit the bonus round real quick.
I just leave a sliver of hope, which is IO9, which is another website. They said some sources are saying that this is completely true and it's all over, but they also have apparently one representative from Sony who said that this is just over like producing credits and the deal isn't given up just yet. So there's like I would say it's like 90%.
Yeah,
like
I think it's
like
in there.
done, but I think there's like a 10% chance between rumors that it's not finalized and backlash. Like there's like a 10% chance that like one of them, probably Sony, says like, okay, like let's work on this. But I'll leave it here because it's so fresh. And once we get I think we'll probably get an update by our next podcast, and I'll follow up with how things look.
I just think that, let's see, because it hasn't even been a day, ladies and gentlemen. It hasn't been a day. Let's see how it goes with the stocks and all that stuff. And even I won't believe anything until something's written and it's like official. But, I'll take that 10% for the risk. I want to believe that we'll keep them because we're just going to you're going to confuse the shit out of the audience. We're like, where is everyone? Like from the MCU, like what's going on? I'm just praying, like, God, don't do this to me right now. But, guys, we're going to hit bonus round real quick. We're just going to do it rapid fire. So Birds of Prey, according to THR, the Hollywood Reporter, John Wick director Chad Stahelski has been enlisted to help out, the production. So he's actually he's overseeing a second unit photography and is set to work alongside the current director, Kathy Yan. So this is pretty common, so don't worry about it. His job is to design and direct these additional scenes, and they kind of just want to add more action to the film. Keanu, any words on that? Because I just think, more action the better. I'm assuming that they're done. This is like common stuff.
Yeah, seems common, and it seems like cool. Okay, cool. Because like John Wick director Chad, he was like Keanu Reeves stunt double in the Matrix. Like he knows fight scenes. He's pretty well versed. So he's an asset in whatever capacity they use him. I'm not worried. It doesn't make me like worried about the film. Just like, oh, cool. All right, they're enlisting him to add some more action.
Yeah, so if we're gonna build off of that, and actually before we go to the next topic, it's been funny because like we've been hearing about the John Wick cast and crew so much, like getting involved into other properties. But like beyond that, Bond's actually coming in the UK on the 3rd of April 2020 and April 8th, 2020 in the US. So this is Bond 25, and the official title is No Time to Die. And Daniel Craig, even though he's been reported to hate the role so many times in the past, he is back.
Keeps coming back.
I know, he's a zombie, man. But this is Keanu's favorite topic, the Snyder Cut.
Ah!
So Jason Momoa bought Zack Snyder a camera, and pretty much, he gave it to him because he apparently got to see the Snyder Cut. He said, describing that the version of the movie as quote-unquote sick, with multiple S's and I's and C's and K's. He also added the hashtag lucky me sucks for you. So, I mean, whatever.
If the cut exists, just release
it. But it's obviously like contracts and stuff. At least like show the screenplay at this point, But like Jason Momoa, he's going to have to hype it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course he's going to hype it up. He's not going to be like, oh, this is shit when he's contracted with DC. So I would take this with a grain of salt. And we talk about this every other week.
I'm sick at the fact that we talk about it every week.
This is Jason Momoa. This is badass. But whatever. I mean, we're sick of hearing it. But Zach, just get a new property and do something else, man. So next,
it's like Army of Darkness, Army of the Dead or whatever, Day of the Dead, whatever, Army of the Dead.
And my boy's working for that production.
Oh, that's dope as hell. What the hell?
Guess where they're filming?
Where?
Atlantic City.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
That makes
he's
sense.
he's hired as a production assistant, and they're paying for his housing, and it's
Damn,
for
that's
Snyder.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's. I mean, when I said get on a next property, he listened and got to a next one. So next topic is about Mortal Kombat. So apparently, according to Variety, Chinese Canadian actor Liu Lin from Power Rangers and also Black Mirror, Striking Vipers, he's going to be Liu Kang. So we have him, Joe Taslim as Sub-Zero, and the Hollywood Reporter says that Lin will be joined by Supergirl actor Mikad Brooks and Cece Stringer and Thor Ragnarok star Tadanobu Asano, who will be tackling the roles of Jax, Melina, and Raiden, respectively. I'm just glad, I wanted Ludi Lin as Shang-Chi, but whatever, it didn't happen. There was
He's in
rumors of
something else.
yeah, he's in something else, and I'm also glad Raiden's Asian. Like, I really love the representation that's going on, but I'm as much as I'm excited for Mortal Kombat, I'm kind of nervous because the director who's doing this is his first time directing, so I'm being cautious with it. And I mean, like this movie's being released close to Shang-Chi, so this is going to be like Asian Pride Month for the like two like between these movies. But hearing this, I mean, Keanu, what do you think about this? Because I think Ludi Lin's a perfect casting as Liu Kang, and he's ripped as hell. We're getting an Asian Sub-Zero, we're getting an Asian Raiden, and Melina.
Yeah,
and
I'm
Jax
about
we
it.
talked about.
I'm
Yeah.
about all of it. It all seems cool. All seems good.
Yeah,
Checking out so far.
They talked about fatalities and being radar, so why not? Next topic, some Marvel stuff. This is very brief. Everett Ross is going to be in Black Panther 2, but this is according to the actor himself. He says, as far as I know, I will be returning, Freeman says. As far as I know, I will be in another Black Panther. That's my understanding. As to when that will happen, I don't know. Cool. Everett Ross was a good,
Yeah,
good,
that's cool.
good bonus on the scenes. But okay, next topic, Snake Eyes. So according to the Hollywood Reporter, THR is always dropping that heat. Crazy Rich Asians breakout Henry Golding is set to play as Snake Eyes, and this will be a spinoff of G.I. Joe. They have Robert Schwentke, who did Red and R.I.P.D. as a director. I'm worried about this because those movies are kind of shaky, and plus, like, I don't think we've had I think we had too much time between the G.I. Joe movies where it's not fresh in people's eyes, and they're kind of cheesy. So I mean, I guess they were going for that tone of like the classic cartoon, but what do you think about
put it
this?
this way, like The Rock couldn't save G.I. Joe too, so like
That's a good point. And it's
I mean,
it's been so long since the second one. Like, I think it's been since 2013 or 2012. So it's like,
well, I feel like each one is kind of like in this weird like soft reboot phase where like the first one came out and they had like who was it, Damon Wayans or whoever, Marlon, one of the, I forget who they had in it.
Channing Tatum
And one of the other, I think it was like one of the other Wayne brothers or whatever. And like then the second one was like, oh, we're gonna kill off Duke, and then we're gonna like it's still the same team, but like we have all new members and like The Rock and like Bruce Willis and like here you go. So
yeah,
I definitely think this
soft
is probably like another like soft reboot, if not a hard reboot, where it's just like here you go, here's it's like Bumblebee, where it was like kind of similar but not similar. Like this will be the Bumblebee of the G.I. Joe franchise.
But like no one's really asking for this, in my opinion. Like
they want the money.
Even though it's like that's the thing. Like it's by Paramount.
It's an IP. It's an IP that's made money in the past, so it's safe for them creating new ideas.
And you're making bank off nostalgia. So like you're gonna get the older crowd, or you're gonna get the young crowd if you make it cool enough. So the plot is gonna center around on Snake Eyes seeking revenge for his father's death by joining a ninja clan. In the process of finding acceptance. So in other words, it's an origin story. Cool. I mean, I don't think we should see Snake Eyes' face, but maybe briefly, because I feel like he's kind of like Judge Dredd, where he should be, anonymous.
The
mask. Yeah, like Carl Urban. So this is Keanu's actual real favorite topic. Fast and Furious 9 gets Francis Ngannou, who's a former heavyweight contender from the UFC, casted into the movie, and along with him, Michael Rooker is in it.
Dope.
Playing Buddy, so there's no details with it. But also former WWE superstar turned actor John Cena will also be joining this franchise. I know Keanu, you saw Hobbs and Shaw, and like, you think this is a good like handoff to come back to the series with this cast?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the seventh one was like, it's as horrible as to say, the seventh one was reinvigorated because of what's his name?
The Rock.
No. Paul Walker's death. Like that's the reason why the
yeah,
seventh
yeah.
one like made gangbusters, and the eighth one actually has like did phenomenal in China. But I just feel like, in the same way, like I'm actually like, okay, whatever. Like I feel like they're all these last ones are all the same, and like I'll probably watch it, rent it, and
Yeah. I mean,
neat.
it's funny because they need to learn how to pull the plug on this series. You know what I mean? It's kind of like The Walking Dead. Like, don't overstay your stay. Like, let's just like, I think after Paul Walker, they should have just ended it. Because it's not what it is anymore. It's not about car racing from Fast and Furious 1, 2, and 3. It's not about that. It's just, I mean, there's nice cars, but it's so over the top, and it gives us that 80s taste, which is great because we don't get that a lot. But I think we should know when to end it because maybe, it's. I mean, if you're gonna rely on China, that's not really a good thing,
John Cena
and John Cena joining. I mean, this is gonna be the WWE, like legit. Like,
John Cena.
You're gonna have like a bunch of like muscleheads in it. So I mean, whatever. I mean, I stopped watching Fast and the Furious since like Fast and Furious, which is the 4th, I think. Last bit today, on bonus round, Robocop. So apparently, Neil Blomkampf, sadly.
This guy can't catch a break.
He can't catch a break. He can't catch a break because he's not doing Aliens, and he's not good. Apparently, he made a tweet. So this is official. He made a tweet that he's not directing the RoboCop, which I really don't care about because he's working on a horror/thriller movie at the time. So schedule conflicts. Okay, I didn't. Apparently, they're taking RoboCop in a new route because I didn't like the reboot, and I kind of thought it was stupid. Neil, I do want Neil to have like a property to do. Something science fiction because he can make a great world even though his directing's even though his films are questionable. What are your thoughts on RoboCop?
Neat.
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, I think the meat of the story in this episode is Spider-Man. So bonus round, we kind of just want to do a rapid fire shot of all these like other things that if you're not part of not a fan of comic book movie properties or the typical pop culture properties, and you still talk about Snyder, we'll talk about Mortal Kombat, Black Panther 2, Snake Eyes, like all these other properties like Fast and Furious. But guys, thank you for tuning in to Mashup Movie Talk. Hopefully we get more news on Spider-Man, and hopefully there's a chance that he stays in the MCU. But guys, don't forget, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. So episodes are every Wednesday. So at the same time, when Life Talk comes back, we're going to have Movie Talk dropped on Wednesday. Thank you again for tuning in. Be sure to like our Facebook page, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. We'll see you next week.